Like and subscribe right now, or this spider will crawl on your face when you're sleeping. From losing an expensive satellite, to a math error, to harboring Nazis, NASA has done some questionable things in the past. But now people are finding out about them, and they want answers. Today, we are looking at 10 dark NASA secrets that will blow your mind away. Let's begin. Number 10. No insurance. In the months leading up to the Apollo 11 launch, Neil Armstrong and his crew signed hundreds of autographs, but most notable were the covers, or envelopes signed and postmarked on important dates. When NASA fell short on the astronauts' life insurance policy, the men sent signed autographs to their friends and families so they could sell them off in the event of a disaster. Their actions were warranted as well. Reports say that NASA already had a plan to sever communication with the Apollo 11 if the astronauts became stranded on the moon. Nixon even had a pre-written speech. As recent as 2003, NASA had no special insurance for its astronauts. When the Challenger mission exploded mid-flight, the deceased families received the standard federal life insurance payout, but nothing more. The good news is that with space tourism consistently teased on the horizon, some private companies are ready to cover your insurance fees, should you choose to defy gravity. Number 9. Challenger blowing up. The Challenger explosion of 1986 was one that shocked the world. We had become so used to the idea of space travel that the space shuttle blowing up on live TV was something we couldn't wrap our heads around. What was even worse about this tragedy was that NASA knew it was going to happen. One important part of the shuttle's rocket boosters was the O-ring seals, which kept key joints in the rockets together. Now, O-rings are made out of rubber, which is highly affected by temperature changes. Before the 1986 launch, the contractors who designed Challenger's O-rings realized that a recent cold spell had ruined them. Engineer Roger Boisjolly had to delay the launch. NASA refused. Poor Boisjolly went home knowing that the astronauts were going to die. The next day, they did. Many believe that NASA killed their own astronauts. Number 8. Duct tape. We've all experienced the cabin fever that set in during the lockdown all over the world due to the pandemic. Now, imagine being with your least favorite roommate for months on end. You are very likely to go off the deep end. Always ready, NASA has a plan for such moments. Normally, you would expect some advanced restraining technology. Sorry to disappoint you. It's as basic as it gets. The official procedure for when an astronaut goes nuts while on a mission reads, the astronaut's crewmates should bind his wrists and ankles with duct tape, tie him down with a bungee cord, and inject him with tranquilizers if necessary. You could argue that astronauts can't use stun guns in space or any sort of weapons that use projectiles. Those weapons risk damaging important tech in the space station or even punching a hole in the capsule, hence the duct tape. Number 7. A math error. With the standards and expertise in place at NASA, one would expect that NASA scientists should know basic math like unit conversion and the like. Unfortunately, in 1999, NASA launched the Mars Climate Orbiter. It was designed to study the planet's weather conditions, atmospheric composition, and conduct a lot of other experiments. NASA had to get everything right, because setting a satellite to perfectly orbit the Earth is a hard enough problem mathematically. Now, imagine shooting a satellite from Earth and perfectly putting it into orbit around another planet. That's a whole new level of complexity, because if the satellite got too low in the Martian atmosphere, the friction would burn it up, and the multi-million-dollar satellite would be lost forever. However, when the orbiter got to Mars and fired its thrusters to enter the Martian orbit, the craft started going way too fast and fell straight into the surface of the planet. NASA literally freaked out at this point. But after reviewing the mission, they realized what the mistake was. Somebody programmed the computer flight control software to calculate the thrust in the English unit of pounds instead of the metric unit of newtons. That little mistake made all the flight control calculations wrong, hence the crash of the orbiter. That incident has been a warning to physics students about the importance of checking units. Number 6. Gator infestation problem. Space travel, as we all know, comes with its attendant hazards. Astronauts have to deal with muscle atrophy, space radiation, and some other hazards. But it turns out they also face some dangers on Earth before getting into space. Gators. Yes, you heard that right. NASA has a considerable gator infestation problem. Anybody who has lived in Florida probably isn't surprised by that. Since NASA operates 145,000 acres of land in Florida, there are bound to be gators who have found themselves displaced by rockets and research centers. Normally, they are found hiding under cars, but sometimes they climb over fences and find their way into research centers. Even though NASA also has issues with rattlesnakes, buzzards, and even the occasional wild pig, the gators are certainly the most extreme animal problem they have to deal with. Fortunately, the gators haven't stopped any space launches yet. But then, given the number of space launches, we wouldn't be surprised to find out that one of them makes its way into a rocket. Have you ever thought about zero-gravity gators? Number 5. Drinking urine. The scientists at NASA have developed a way for astronauts to recycle and condensate the crew's collective breath, sweat, shower runoff, and urine, turning it into drinking water. The system recycles about 6,000 liters of water for the station each year and produces more than the ionized silver-based system of the Russians. The Russian cosmonauts apparently refuse to drink the reclaimed urine water. The astronauts aren't bothered by their counterparts' judgment. Reportedly, they simply use the Russian urine too. The astronauts also have special training on how to poop properly in zero gravity. Because of the weightlessness experienced, toilets on the space station require fans to create suction. Allegedly, a huge improvement from the method of the early shuttle days, using adhesives to fix collection bags to their behinds. Number 4. Secret Space Shuttle. While NASA would like for us to believe they're all about science, they also work in tandem with the military. They help the Air Force to run its top-secret X-37B spaceplane. It looks like a miniature space shuttle, but nobody knows exactly what the X-37B does. While they may not have built the X-37B, they usually help the Air Force launch operations. In helping, they also get to carry out some of their missions on the spaceplane, which flies in low orbit and moves around a lot, using state-of-the-art Hall effect ion thrusters. Besides NASA science projects, the Air Force has not disclosed what the X-37B is doing in space, although there are those who invested in such things and love to speculate about what the X-37B is doing. Some of them think that those super cool ion thrusters are being tested for future spy satellites. Most likely, the X-37B has tons of cameras and surveillance equipment, flying around the globe spying. Whatever the case, the X-37B logs massive 600-day missions, and it is currently flying one, orbiting the Earth doing its secret things. Skilled skywatchers have started to track the spaceplane in the sky, but be careful. If we are looking at the X-37B, it is looking back at us, and is probably an advanced technological big brother who is always watching. Number 3. In your face, Russia. The Cold War was one hell of a crazy race between the United States and Russia. Both sides came up with some crazy ideas, but none was as mad as Project A-119. It was a mission conceived by the United States Air Force and NASA to nuke the moon for no reason. There was really nothing to gain from it. They just wanted to show the Soviets that they could do it. They came up with the various scientific reasons for the mission, claiming that it was important to know what would happen if a nuclear bomb blew up on the moon and its effect on Earth. Now that was quite risky, as the effects of a nuclear bomb on the moon would have been felt on Earth. Thankfully, the pragmatic ones among them prevailed, and the mission was scrapped. NASA and the Air Force would have to find another way to intimidate the Russians. The interesting part of all this is that Project A-19 is just one of many Cold War projects that were planned. Most have not been declassified up till now. Makes you wonder what other crazy plans are lying on NASA bookshelves. And with that, it's now time for today's subscriber pick. Today's photo was sent to us by a subscriber. If you come across a photo online and want to know more details about it, just send it over to us. We might even feature it in a future video. Number 2. This seems like a photoshopped image of an alien on Mars, but we get the idea behind it. Scientists recently discovered water on Mars, which fuels the theories that life exists on the planet too. What do you guys think? Is there anything living on the red planet? Let us know in the comments. Number 1. Harboring Nazi scientists. After World War II, the behavior of the Allied forces was not exactly exemplary. The CIA was hard at work with Project Paperclip. which was a covert operation to populate the U.S. space, military, and technology programs with Nazi scientists. The objective was to prevent the Nazi scientists from being taken by the Soviet Union. The CIA was able to recover a document called the Osenberg List. It was a catalog of scientists and engineers who worked for the Nazis. They were able to bring over 1,600 of those German scientists and their families to work for America. Chief among them was Wernher von Braun, one of the best Nazi rocket scientists of World War II. During the war, von Braun was in charge of developing Nazi rockets, specifically the V-2 missiles used against the United Kingdom. To make matters worse, he oversaw forced labor from concentration camps to build the terror weapons. On arrival in America, he started working with NACA. When NACA turned into NASA and the United States got serious about the space race, von Braun got to work on the Saturn rocket, which shot American astronauts to the moon. He is one of the most important rocket scientists in history and completely revolutionized spaceflight in his time with NASA. Which one of these secrets surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.